And a very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, Interim Manager at WEIU TV and Radio. My co-host is Mr. Daniel Jones.
Happy Monday.
And we are talking today to City Manager Scott Smith from Charleston.
Hi, Jeff.
Along with the Mayor, Dr. Brandon Combs.
Howdy, Jeff.
Appreciate you coming in, and we are trying to do all the social distancing, and the Mayor and Scott are masked if you're not watching it on TV or the replay. Appreciate you coming in today. I thought we would start off, though, with a little bit of somber news from last week. And he's actually was supposed to be my guest next week on the show. We always like to wrap up this year with the Charleston and Mattoon, and former Mattoon Mayor Tim Gover passed away, and I wanted you guys just give a couple thoughts on the mayor before we start talking about Charleston. Scott?
I can still remember when I first met Mayor Gover. We had to do something together shortly after Larry had passed, and we just started a good relationship from that day when we first started talking, and I enjoyed all the time that we got to spend together. We had a lot of lunches, and he was just a great guy to talk to confide in, and we always saw eye to eye. And between Mattoon and Charleston, all the rivalries and everything else, there was none of that. We wanted to have the best for both communities. We had multiple joint council meetings together, and I remember him at one of them saying, there were years ago where the two mayors would stand here and probably want to throw punches at each other, but now we're sitting next to each other having a joint meeting. So it was, as I told the paper, it was a blessed relationship. I'm going to miss him tremendously, working with him. And, a lot of the things that him and I discussed and stuff are things that I'll take and remember forever. So
he was a good man.
Yep.
Scott, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I would double down on all those things. And because of my relationship with Kyle Gill and the staff over in Mattoon, obviously, I had a close relationship with Mayor Gover too. And oftentimes during this pandemic, because we could not meet for lunch, Tim would sit in on my meeting, my Zoom meeting or WebEx meeting or whatever, virtual meeting with Kyle. And so over the course of the summer and even into the fall, Tim was on many of those calls, and thought the world of Tim. He was great for Mattoon. He deeply cared about the community, did a lot of volunteer work. You read all the things that he's donated to and supported over the years. A huge proponent for the Lifespan facility back in the day, and of course working here on campus. I didn't have him for any classes that I can recall, but I think it was stated in the paper, true gentleman, always just extremely professional, represented Mattoon in the community well, and did everything he could to support Mattoon. So huge shoes to fill there for sure.
Yep, he'll be missed, and hopefully Kyle Gill can make it over next Monday, and we can talk a little bit about former Mayor Tim Gover, who passed away last week, unfortunately. Let's move into what everybody else is obviously talking about on a day-to-day basis, is the pandemic and how it really has affected your jobs as the mayor and city manager of Charleston, and kind of things that you've had to kind of shift to do over these past few months. So
well, for us, from an organization standpoint, we got on this real early, the mayor and I, and had meetings jointly with our staff and our team very early in the pandemic, back when this first broke, and days before the governor, basically shut down the state, and tried to get everybody on the same plan for PPE and how we were going to manage and how we were going to operate things. And I think, knock on wood, we've done pretty well. Are there things we could do differently? I'm sure everybody could say that, 8-9 months into this. But I feel like we've done everything we can do. Of course, our city facilities are closed with the exception of the police department, and have been for months, and probably will remain that way until the mayor no longer declares the declaration or state of emergency for the city. But, our crews have been continuing to work and be productive. Of course, our fire and police personnel are dealing with the public every day, and those are challenging times for those guys and gals, of course, but they're working through it. We've invested a lot of time, money, and effort in trying to maintain safe spaces for our employees, and purchased equipment to fog our squad cars and our equipment and our ambulances and our buildings, doing everything we can to keep our employees safe. Like many folks, we've had people that have been out, periodically for it, either themselves or a family member or a loved one, and had to take some time off, but we've worked through that. Provided opportunities for our staff to work remotely when we need to, and we've, of course, had to change the way we conduct, public meetings, and That's created some challenges for us, but we've worked through that. And I think our elected officials have done a great job. Everybody's calling in. The mayor is typically there presiding over the meeting, and that seems to have worked out pretty well. So, and again, I can't say enough for the mayor and his relationship with all the organizations and agencies that are, from the medical community to public health, to everybody, and being supportive of our team like he has been throughout this whole process. So I'm not happy about the pandemic, of course, but I think I'm pretty pleased with the way we've handled it thus far.
Thanks, Scott. Brandon, you want to add to that?
Yeah, Scott and I did get on this extremely early, and a lot of people will email, not a lot, but there's, I get emails, what has Charleston done, what has Charleston been doing, and, when we saw this coming, even before Coles County had its first case, Scott and I discussed, and we had our emergency operations manual passed out to everyone, or they already had them, but we told them to review it. We were jumping ahead, and Scott and I's thought on this was it's better to be proactive than need to be reactive. And then, Scott was instrumental in getting a meeting together with all the heads of the counties. We met at the health department so everyone could discuss what they were doing and how we were handling it. And, I just felt like Charleston jumped ahead and did everything in our power. Now, like Scott said, are there things that maybe could be done differently, or yeah, there's always that, well, what if we could have done this, or what if could have done that? I can't think of many of those, but at the same time, we're all up in limbo. Like we said earlier, it's a day-by-day thing, and it's so changing. I mean, you can look at the state and you can look at the nation and see they're changing things daily. So from a local standpoint, I work diligently with the health department, with Dr. Ranchero and Dr. Sheila Simons here at EIU to make sure that we were doing everything from the citywide as we could, and then help Diana the health department, put together that, Coles Cares campaign. I mean, we've done so many different things that we can do from our standpoint to keep the community safe, and to ask for social distancing and masks and washing your hands, and ultimately it comes down to people following the guidelines or not. And those are some of the questions that I get. And I'll just say it since we're on the air, there's not a whole lot of power that Scott and I have from a municipal standpoint to enforce a lot of these things. But overall, the change in going to Zoom meetings or a lot more calls, me, I'm a people person, and it's been tough because we can't have our lunches like we normally do. We can't do the things that we normally do out in public, and that has been the toughest thing, is that handling so many things via phone or through, a computer call. That's been the toughest, and now we're all getting used to it, but I don't want that to become the norm of way things handled. I can't wait till things can get back to normal, to where we're all out in public and handling things, and our meetings are back open and people are able to come to the meetings and things of that nature. But with the way the pandemic is, my hat definitely goes off to, Scott says to me, but at the same time, it's a team effort, and him and I work extremely close together. But the way his team has responded to it, and the way our first responders have putting their, themselves out there, I mean, my hat goes off to them too. I mean, they've taken every precaution. They're very thorough in everything that they do, and I'm just extremely proud of the way that everyone's been able to handle this, in this such a tough time.
Daniel?
We've been talking about how the pandemic has changed our daily operations, and it has also changed the way we celebrate our holidays as well. The city of Charleston recently, this past weekend, put on a Christmas in the Heart of Charleston event, and last month for Halloween they had a trunk or treat event in the square. How important do you guys think it is to have these sort of events, although they're not what we usually are used to? How important do you think it is to have these events, and also, do you feel they are making an impact? So what has been kind of the response?
Well, first of all, I think there was a fear that those two events that you're alluding to there, pointing out that maybe those would be canceled. And then certainly there were discussions about canceling those events. But hats off to Brian Jones and Diane and my team in the Parks and Recreation Department. for trying to come up with a plan and a roadmap to be able to offer, the Halloween event and the Christmas in the Heart of Charleston event, albeit a drive-through, a drive-by, or whatever you want to call it. But we had great turnout, great success. And not only did we have great turnout and great success at both events, we also did some charitable work by raising funds for the food pantry and generated quite a bit of food that was donated for the food pantry. So we had an outstanding turnout again Saturday night. They had like 500 treat bags for kids that drove through, and I think they gave away over 400 treat bags. Had a lot of adults that drove through, which I thought was kind of fun. And again, with the Halloween event, they ran out of treat bags, so that's why they made some extras. But both events, for the entire duration of the events, we had cars and people running through those. And the outpouring of support from the community and the children, and just the comments that were heard by our staff as the cars were traveling through the displays and the trunks and at the trunk or treat or whatever, and getting the candy bags, which again was a real safe environment for families and for children. To experience something both on Halloween and or Christmas was a bright spot for us, because as you know, many of the programs that we're accustomed to running this time of year, we've not been able to run. And so it's a challenge for our staff to be able to continue to have offerings for programs or events, but our team is trying to do everything they can with limited staff and resources to offer something to the community and really provide a bright spot in some really challenging times.
There you go. Brandon, one of the things you said earlier was that Charleston likes to be, proactive instead of reactive, which I think is a great answer. Speaking of that, though, the rumor of vaccines coming down in the future, in the next 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is, do you have a plan, or is there a plan being put together for a vaccine, for a community vaccine? Or how does that work as we start thinking about, like you said, getting back to normal, but maybe the vaccine is going to be the helper in that plan?
Well, I think a lot of that's going to come down to come down from the governor's office and IDPH. I mean, we're going to have not much say in it from the city standpoint. It's going to come down from IDPH or the governor's office to IDPH to the health department, which Diana and I talk, weekly almost, if not bi-weekly. And so once those things start to roll out, I'll know more. But as of now, I haven't been told of anything, just the possibility of them coming out and who's going to get them first and how it's going to happen. But we'll know more as it comes out, because I can tell you, and Scott can tell you, we can be on a call one week and we're told that this is going to happen, and then there'll be a wrench thrown in there somewhere, and then it'll just completely change. So I don't want to sit here and say, well, this is how it's going to happen, and then people think, okay, well, this is how it's going to go, and then I turn around and have to say, well, we've been told something different. So really, I can't give a straight answer to that.
I have my gut feeling is there's going to be a little bit of chaos involved in this, and just how you prepare for chaos is unfortunately lies on some of your guys' shoulders, as well as, like you said, the Coles County Health Department and the state. But hopefully it's coming. But it's the plan.
And I will say, hats off to the Coles County Health Department. I'm going to tell you what, they don't have a big staff.
And they don't get a day off now.
And Diana's texting me on Sundays and Saturday nights, and she's getting, when you see the numbers come down, she's calling those, or her and her staff are calling all those people and going through and taking notes down and then following up on all that and then getting notes to school. And like I said earlier, my family had it, and she was on the ball with that stuff. She really is. And there's a lot that's going on in that health department, and the men and women there, especially Diana and Gloria and her team. Oh my goodness, Scott. Wouldn't you say they've worked their tail off?
Yeah, like Jeff said, they're not getting a day off.
No.
I'll get Daniel next, but one of the things when you talk about the health department, there has been some, the little bit of concern lately, because there has been a spike in Coles County with the numbers. How concerned are you about the increase in numbers mostly in the past month? It seems like every day. It used to be 16 to 18, now it's 30, even some 50s in there.
Yeah, and we're seeing that all over. And when people ask me, why do you think there's such this rise? Is it people not wearing mask places? Is it not this and that? Here's the bottom line is, when I've talked with them about it, there's a lot of people that have it that don't realize they have it. For instance, when my son had it, had absolutely no symptoms. I had it. I didn't realize I had it until I lost my sense of taste and smell. I felt healthy as can be. Now, I mean, and that's the thing that happens is people are getting this, and they have no signs or symptoms, and they're still continue to be out in the community or to go to work, and it's not their fault. It's just not everyone's getting hit the same way. I was lucky that when I contracted it, I was actually off to go deer hunt, and so I was out of my office. Otherwise, it could have been a bigger issue.
You could have been a
if I
spider,
was
yeah.
in my office because I had no idea that I had it until I couldn't smell the coffee one morning. And so that's, in my opinion, that's why we're seeing not just in Coles County, but I mean, you look at other counties. I mean, there was a point in time where Effingham County was having some cases in the hundreds a day, and it's the same thing. You got they're a hub, and everyone's going to work in Effingham, and everyone comes to work here at the hospital or at EIU or whatever. A lot of people coming into Charleston, and they don't realize they're sick. And so it's easy to spread something like that when you don't realize you have it. And I feel personally, and from my knowledge of medical wise, that's why we're seeing such an increase.
Great answer. Daniel.
Kind of bouncing off your knowledge, medical-wise, I did some research, and you graduated from here at Eastern with a bachelor's in biology. So can you kind of tell us how you went from graduating with a bachelor's in biology into being a politician and ultimately being the mayor of Charleston?
Well, I was born and raised here in Charleston, graduated high school here, and then went to Eastern. And I, from the age 5, told a local chiropractor here in town I wanted to be like him. Sure enough, good thing I liked biology and all that good stuff, because that's what it took. And I don't consider, I always used to joke around, I guess, saying that one day I'll be the mayor of Charleston. I thought I'd be in my 50s or 60s when that happened, but it happened when I was 33, 33 or 34 when Mayor Reynolds passed. And, it was more about community service. And if someone says, oh, people give me a hard time, oh, you're a politician. I don't see it as being a politician necessarily. I see it as being a public servant. When you want to be on city council or you want to be the mayor of a town, it's not about politics necessarily. Yeah, there's some politics that comes into play, but the way that I handle it is such that we're here to serve the citizens, and that's not just the citizens that live here, that's also the students that come here and live here for 9 months or 12 months out of the year. So it really came down to me wanting to give back to my community, and I ran for city council and got elected, and then Mayor Reynolds passed, and now it kind of all comes back because, I see Mayor Gover passed and Matt Toon going through some of the similar things. And it really boiled down to a relationship that I had with Scott and the two past mayors before Mayor Reynolds, Mayor Enyer and Kogel, that really pushed me into getting into this position. But it's one of those things that I love this community. I love Eastern, and I just feel that if I can serve it in any way, that's what I wanted to do. So that's how I became the mayor of Charleston, basically.
That's a good answer. Good answer. Scott, you said the city offices are closed, but you said the work crews are still being done. What kind of things are being done out there? If somebody sees some things that need to be done, how's that process take you?
So we're fully operational. It's just that our facilities are closed to guests and the public. We still have some vendors that obviously have to circulate a bit in our buildings, and we still do get an occasional person to come into the building, and we'll try to get them taken care of. But so we've got crews out right now, pouring sidewalk. We've got guys on 6th Street, 7th Street today, I think 2nd Street today. They're back out the lake again. So, our public works guys are staying very, very busy right now. So,
They've been around campus a lot lately.
Been around campus. We did a lot of sidewalk work right around campus this past summer and the fall. So we've got a sidewalk grant we're working on, and again, we're going to work while the weather's good and continue to pour sidewalk as long as we can and throughout the winter months when we can.
When will we know about the census and when that information will be available and finalized? I know it came during this pandemic too, and it kind of got, unfortunately, pushed a little bit away, which is not good
Right.
for anything. But what's the update on that?
I think we're going to have some information, after the first of the year, I think. I don't have any specific dates or deadlines. I think Steve Pamper might be able to share or shed a little light on that. But yes, a lot of that got delayed or pushed back. And then there's been, judicial hearings on different parts of the census and all that here, even in the last 30 days, I believe. So I look for them to wrap that up, and then typically we would get a response back, after the first of the year with the new numbers.
Are both of you
once those are
happy?
certified. Sorry.
Okay, no, sorry to interrupt. Are you both of you happy with the work on Lincoln Avenue? If it looks like it's finally pretty much done in terms of what the state did for the city? I mean, it took a while, but we got it done, right?
It's almost done. So Champagne Signal and Lighting's in right now. Hal's done most of their work, cleaned up the intersections and put out some sod and did some grass seed and all that. But Champagne Signal's the crew that you see out there right now, and they're the ones that are installing all the traffic signals. So they're deep into that right now, pulling wire and setting the traffic signal poles. And it looks like they even maybe started installing some of the larger mast arms that will hold the signals out over the street. So they've got a ways to go, but they're deep into it now, and so we hope to get that done yet this month. And then the lighted street signs, I think we talked about one other time, that'll have Panther logos on them. Those will probably go up after the first of the year.
Okay. Ray, anything to add to that?
I can drive down Lincoln
looks-
and drink my coffee now. I mean, so it's been something we've been looking forward to for such a long time, and it's so nice to be able to have it done.
There you go. Do you have other stuff back there?
Yes, Mayor Combs, you emphasized a little bit ago about being a public servant for not only permanent Charleston residents, but also EIU students who could count as temporary residents of Charleston. There is an underlying disconnect between the two groups, not only background-wise, but politically as well. We saw a couple months ago kind of big clash between the two groups at a Back to Blue rally downtown in the square. As mayor, what are you doing to kind of manage these conflicts and hopefully creating a peaceful environment for both Charleston residents, permanent and temporarily, as EIU students?
Well, that was just something that just, when that took place, when there was the two rallies, I mean, anytime you get two opposing opinions, things can happen. But all in all, it was safe. Nothing really crazy went down there. There was a little bit of commingling and such, but I was up there and witnessed how everything went down, and it still was safe for the students and then the people that were there. Personally, you may not know this about me, but I do teach here at Eastern as well, A&P, and Anatomy and Physiology 1. And so I'm constantly talking with students, and I ask them, do you feel safe here in town, and what's the things that you notice you'd like to see changed, and whatever else. And I don't want to say I disagree with a disconnect, because most of the students that I talk to, they don't see much of that I get, and they can be honest with me. There's not a huge disconnect. In certain areas, yeah, there can be, but you're going to have a disconnect no matter what, no matter where you are. But it's working with the students, and for instance, the Black Student Union, they have, we've been in conversations with each other, and they've asked me to join their meetings, and then there was some things that happened, and I was unable to join the meetings, or they weren't able to get me on. But that's in the works, to where when school resumes after all this, I'll be in constant contact with them, and working with them to do what we can do to make sure that as a whole, everyone feels at home here, and everyone feels safe. But it boils down to interaction with the students. And once again, I want to have more interaction besides just being in a via computer meeting or whatever else. They get to meet me, I get to meet them and interact. And then they get to see that, yeah, I'm Mayor Combs, but at the same time, I'm still a human being and just a regular person, and they can see me, as that. And I've noticed that as I've been teaching here, that and I get more involved with the students, that has really helped foster different openings and different relationships that can really help bring everything, together and help coincide, because I'm on campus a lot, and I'm open to talk whenever, and it's definitely been a positive, I will say, in that regard. Does that answer what you were?
It does.
That's good. Both. Good question. Good answer. What about advice to folks right now and businesses who, they're on the verge? I mean, everybody's getting, I think they call it fatigue, mask fatigue and all that. What about the ones who aren't paying as much attention, not following the rules? What advice would Brandon or Scott give them as we try to, get through the holidays with the pandemic?
This goes back to the Kohl's Cares thing. I'll just use my business for example. We got signs at the doors. You got to wear a mask, and it's not for necessarily. I mean, we're not forcing it in a way of mandatory as coming down with dropping the hammer. It's for the safety of everyone around you, and we ask everyone to abide by the simple wear a mask, social distance, wash your hands. And there's going to be people, like with anything, that's going to abide certain things, and there's people that's not. And that's not for us to we have no authority to tell them that necessarily they have to. It's up to the certain businesses. And I will say that the businesses have done a phenomenal job at doing what they can. The complaints that come into me, literally, there's not very many. And when they are, I will make it known, and I'll reach out to them, or Gloria from the health department will, and we'll let them know. And they comply. I mean, they want to comply because they want to be able to stay open, and they want people to feel safe in their establishments. So businesses are doing everything that they can to stay afloat, keep their doors open, but be mindful of the health and safety of everybody. And if there is an issue, it's one of those things where it's a simple call and discuss it with them, and a lot of times you can, work something out.
Okay. We're about out of time. This show went fast. There's so many things I want to talk about. Scott, about 15 seconds, any final words I forgot about?
Jeff, I just love the mask I've got on today.
Yeah,
it's not green.
Mask.
It's not green today.
Yeah. You were wearing the green wave colors.
I was, yeah.
And Brandon wore the EIU Panther one, so that's good. And we have the WEIU ones on. I put mine off just for the show, but it will be back on as soon as we're done in 15 seconds. Both of you, happy holidays. I'm glad you're feeling better, Dr. Combs. Appreciate it very much. Everybody have a great holiday season, and next week we'll have Matt Toon, City Manager Kyle Gill, on for a show that'll probably be a tough one to get through. We are WEIU. Everybody have a great day.